Listen up, black boy. Know your place. This entrance is for white members only. Can't you read? Wade Clark, a man in his mid-50s in pressed khakis, ripped a leather portfolio from the man's hands, scattering papers across the parking lot. He then shoved him, palms to the chest. The man, calm despite the aggression, responded, "Sir, I'm here for the 12:30 event." Clark closed the distance, spitting near the man's shoes. "You want handouts? That's what your kind does. Not at my club." The man met his eyes, a quiet defiance in his gaze. "You have no idea who I am." Clark laughed, dismissing the warning, his radio crackling. Unbeknownst to him, in less than 90 minutes, his carefully constructed world would begin to unravel. 2 police cars rolled through the club gates. Officer Troy Scott, 36, with a history of excessive force complaints, scanned the scene. He saw Wade Clark, agitated, pointing. He saw the man in the polo shirt, the scattered papers, and instinctively reached for his belt, not yet for his weapon, but his radio. "What's the situation?" Clark quickly pointed. "That man, he's trespassing. Got aggressive when I told him this is members only." The man opened his mouth, but Scott cut him off. "Sir, I need you to stay quiet. Don't move. Don't speak." The second officer, Detective Dean Reed, 51, a 28-year veteran, circled around. He'd seen this script before. Black man, white neighborhood, rich white accuser. It almost always ended the same way. Reed noted the papers, the man's composed demeanor contrasting with Clark's aggression. "He touch you?" he asked Clark, who readily confirmed. "Shoved me when I told him to leave. That's assault." The man's jaw tightened, but he remained stoic, his breathing controlled, a practiced calm suggesting someone trained for this, someone who understood the implications. Scott stepped closer. "Sir, I'm going to need you to turn around. Hands behind your back." The man turned slowly, his eyes sweeping across the opulent club grounds. The marble steps, the shimmering lake, the rows of luxury cars, as if committing every detail to memory. Scott pulled out handcuffs, the metal glinting. Behind them, more cars arrived, early attendees for the event. They slowed, watching, phones emerging to record. Reed, noticing the growing audience, hesitated. "Troy, maybe we should—" Scott cut him off. "I've got this." He grabbed the man's wrist. The first cuff clicked shut. The man didn't resist, didn't fight. Yet his voice, steady, clear, and loud enough for the gathering crowd to hear, resonated across the parking lot. "My name is Trent James. I'm a United States Senator, and you're making a mistake," Scott scoffed, securing the second cuff. "Sure you are, buddy. Sure you are." The crowd grew, phones actively recording, capturing the unfolding scene that would soon expose deeper currents of prejudice and power. Reed, however, studied James's face. A flicker of recognition, then doubt, quickly dismissed. "Troy's right. We get this story every week. Someone claims they're important." James remained unperturbed. "Check my wallet. Left pocket. You'll find my Senate ID." Scott retrieved the leather wallet. Inside, alongside a driver's license and credit cards, lay official credentials. United States Senate, Trent James. Scott stared at it, his face paling, a 3-second silence hanging heavy over the parking lot. Clark, ever defiant, broke the spell. "That's fake. Has to be. Look at him. Does he look like a senator to you?" Reed snatched the wallet, scrutinizing the badge. Hologram, embossing, signature, everything appeared authentic. Yet, in front of the swelling crowd and Clark, he declared, "These things can be faked. We'll verify it at the station." The dismissive tone underscored a prevailing skepticism, perhaps even an unconscious bias, against the man standing cuffed before them. A woman in the crowd shouted for them to check their computer system. Scott spun around. "Ma'am, step back. This doesn't concern you." Another voice challenged, "It concerns all of us." Scott threatened further arrests, silencing the crowd, but the phones remained aloft, recording everything. James, still calm, reiterated, Officer Scott, Officer Reed, I understand you're doing your job, but I'm asking you, check your system. Run my name. This will take 30 seconds. Reed hesitated, clearly reluctant to be proven wrong in public. But with 20 people now observing, and the potential implications if this was a senator, he relented. He pulled out his radio. Dispatch, this is Reed. Can you run a name for me? Trent James, James. Check if there's a U.S. senator by that name. The agonizing seconds that followed underscored the deep-seated resistance to simple verification. Minutes crawled. James stood, cuffed, his polo shirt wrinkled, khakis soiled. His face betrayed no emotion. His breathing remained even. Clark, shifting his weight, crossed his arms, confidently dismissing it as a waste of time. He's lying. Then, recognition spread through the crowd. That is Senator James. I voted for him. Another voice. I've seen him on TV. That's definitely him. Reed's jaw clenched. The radio crackled again. Detective Reed, we have a Trent James, United States Senator, second term, Judiciary Committee, Civil Rights Subcommittee. That your guy? Reed's hand froze on the radio. He looked at Scott, who looked at James. The parking lot went silent. Clark, still in denial, lunged forward. No! No way! You're telling me this? This person is a senator? I don't believe it. Reed, pressing the radio button, requested a photo. Negative. System's down for maintenance, but I'm looking at his official page right now. 53 years old, gray hair, African American, matches your description. Scott visibly recoiled, a dawning horror on his face. Oh God. But Reed, observed by the crowd and acutely aware of the immediate fallout, wasn't ready to back down. Dispatch, is there any active investigation on this individual? Any warrants? Anything that would justify detainment? Negative. Clean record? Any reports of stolen Senate credentials? Negative. Reed released the button. Silence hung heavy. The crowd waited. Clark waited. James waited. Then Reed made his decision. We still need to verify at the station. Credentials can be forged. We need to confirm identity through proper channels. Protocol is protocol. A gasp rippled through the crowd, shouts of disbelief. You just confirmed it! Let him go! Reed shook his head. If he's really a senator, this will be cleared up in 20 minutes. If he's not, we've done our job. James, his voice now edged with steel, cut through the noise. Detective Reed, you know who I am. Your dispatch confirmed it. You're choosing to proceed anyway. I want you to understand what that means. Reed met his eyes. It means I follow the law, even when it's inconvenient. James countered, his voice sharp. The law says you need probable cause. What crime do you believe I committed? Trespassing, assault, resisting, Reed listed. James methodically dismantled each charge. He was invited to the club, not trespassing. He hadn't assaulted anyone. Clark shoved him. He had fully complied. Then, a crucial turn. The woman in the sundress, then the man in the blazer, raised their hands, confirming Clark had initiated contact. Simultaneously, Reed's radio crackled again. Detective, we're also showing Senator James is scheduled for an event at the Lakeside Country Club today, 12:30 p.m., fundraiser luncheon. He's the guest of honor. The revelation hung heavy. A bomb dropped on the scene. Clark's face went white. Scott's hands shook, reaching for the cuff keys. Sir, I'm sorry, I didn't... But Reed grabbed his arm, stopping him. Not yet. Scott stared at him. Dean, he's a senator at his own event. We need to... Reed's voice dropped, hard. I said not yet. We verify at the station by the book. Every step documented. Because if this goes wrong, if there's any doubt, it's our careers. James, almost a whisper, delivered the chilling truth. Detective Reed, you're not protecting your career. You're ending it. Reed's jaw set. Get him in the car. The crowd, now a furious mob, followed, recording, shouting. James, unresisting, was guided to the patrol car. As Scott pushed his head down, James looked back, not at the officers or Clark, but at the club entrance. His building. His marble steps. A small, knowing smile, as if watching a complex trap spring shut. The door slammed. Inside the patrol car, silence stretched for the first mile. Reed, in the passenger seat, offered a hollow, bureaucratic defense. "This is procedure. We're not targeting you." James, meeting his eyes, replied, "You know that's not true. We're following protocol. You're following Wade Clark's lies." Reed turned back, silence filling the car as they passed the mundane Saturday life of the city, oblivious to the handcuffed senator in their midst. Scott, his knuckles white on the wheel, tried again. "Dean, I really think we should drive, but if he is—" Reed's curt, "I said drive," cut him off. James leaned his head back, closing his eyes. His body camera, discreetly hidden in his belt buckle, continued recording, silently documenting every choice, every word, every calculated step of their actions and his compliance. At the station, the desk sergeant's eyes widened at the sight of James. Reed, intercepting, barked, "We need a holding cell. Pull up his file. Full background check." "I think that's Senator—" the sergeant began. "Just do it." Cell 3 was stark. Concrete walls, a metal bench, a buzzing fluorescent light. The air was stale. Scott unlocked the cuffs, revealing deep red marks on James's wrists. "We'll be back soon," Scott murmured quietly, a hint of apology. "Troy," Reed snapped, "let's go." The door clanged shut, the lock clicking. James sat on the metal bench, employing a calming technique from his law school days. Outside, Scott's panicked voice reached him. "Dean, this is insane. We need to call someone. The chief, the mayor." Reed's reply was firm. "We verify first." "Verify what?" "Dispatch confirmed. His event starts in 45 minutes. 300 people are waiting." "Then they can wait longer." Officer Lynn Gray, clipboard in hand, entered the cell 15 minutes later. Her face professional, her eyes held concern. James, a civil rights attorney for 2 decades before his 9 years in the Senate, calmly detailed Clark's assault and his full compliance. "You seem very calm," Gray observed. James met her gaze. "Officer Gray, I spent 20 years as a civil rights attorney, 9 years as a senator. I've seen this happen to others hundreds of times. Now that it's happened to me, I know exactly what comes next. The truth, one way or another." Gray stood, closed her clipboard. "I'll be back." The door locked. At the front desk, the sergeant was on the phone, voice low, urgent. "Yes, sir. I understand, but he's already in holding. Detective Reed made the call." Gray set down her clipboard. "Who are you talking to?" The sergeant covered the receiver. "The chief. He's on his way." "The chief? Why?" "Because that really is Senator Trent James, and he's supposed to be at a fundraiser in 38 minutes. Gray's stomach dropped. She pulled out her phone, a quick browser search confirming James's identity. An article from 2 weeks prior caught her eye. Senator James pushes police reform bill through committee. The bill targeted excessive force, mandated body cameras, de-escalation training, and removed qualified immunity for officers. Scott, peering over her shoulder, went white. "Oh God, Lynn. We arrested the guy writing laws about us. We cuffed him. Reed told him he looked like a criminal. They found Reed in his office, speaking to the chief, still defiant. I understand the optics, but we can't just let him walk because he's a senator. That's special treatment." He hung up. Gray stepped in, presenting the witness accounts contradicting Clark. "So we have no probable cause," she concluded. "Trespassing doesn't apply. He was invited. Assault doesn't apply. He never touched Clark. Resisting doesn't apply. He complied." Reed leaned back. "He could have left when Clark asked. He didn't. That's defiance." Gray produced her phone, displaying a public record. "The property owner is Senator James. He owns 51% of the club, Lakeview Holdings." Scott gasped. "He owns the club?" Gray nodded. Has for 18 months. Wade Clark works for him. Reed's face was unmoving, but his grip tightened on his desk. He refused to concede, arguing Clark still managed the property. Just then, a news van pulled up outside, cameras poised. It's probably already online, Scott confirmed. Reed's jaw worked. He was trapped, yet his resolve remained. We follow procedure. We verify everything. We document everything. When the chief arrives, we present our case. Gray, her voice quiet, challenged him. Sir, with respect, we did everything wrong. Reed's eyes hardened. Officer Gray, are you questioning my judgment? I'm questioning the arrest. The evidence doesn't support it. Then maybe you should go back to patrol. Let detectives handle detective work. The insult landed. Gray's face flushed, but she stood firm. Senator James asked me to review the body camera footage, all of it. Are you going to let me do that or bury it? The front door burst open. Richard Hayes, Senator James's attorney, stood there, flanked by Rebecca Cole, James's communications director, and a camera operator. Hayes cut through the bureaucratic fog, calm but authoritative. I'm here to see my client. His office, campaign, and family have been denied contact for 40 minutes. He laid out a folder containing James's credentials, ownership documents for the club, formal complaints against the department, and a demand for immediate release. Cole confirmed 18 witness statements contradicted Clark. The camera operator documented everything. Detective Reed, Hayes stated, you have two choices. Release Senator James immediately or explain to a federal judge why you're holding a sitting senator without cause. The clock ticked, 11:57. In 33 minutes, 300 people would be waiting. Reed retreated to his office, calling Chief Morrison, who ordered him to stall. Do not release him without my direct order. We document everything. Understood? Hayes, unmoved by the chief's delay, pulled out his phone, calling Judge Martinez and threatening a writ of habeas corpus. As the club parking lot filled with confused guests and news vans, Rebecca Cole was already on the phone, her voice tight, contacting national networks. He was arrested at his own club. We need this on every network now. Back at the station, Hayes finished his call. Judge Martinez is on standby. She's prepared to issue a writ of habeas corpus. You'll be in contempt within the hour. Gray and Scott urged Reed to release James. Dean, we can't hold him. Not legally. Reed snapped at them for questioning him in front of civilians. Then, James's calm, steady voice resonated from his cell door. Detective Reed, I'd like to speak with my attorney now. Hayes moved toward him, but Reed blocked the way. Hayes's voice dropped, laced with danger. Detective, you're violating his 6th, 5th, and 4th Amendment rights. At this point, you're not just making mistakes, you're committing crimes. Reed's radio crackled. Chief Morrison was 2 minutes out. Hayes checked his watch. Your chief better have a good explanation, because in 30 minutes, Senator James is supposed to address 300 constituents. Every second he's in that cell is another second of unlawful detention. James's voice carried from the hallway. Richard, it's fine. Let them wait. Let them make their choices. I want the chief here. I want this documented every second. Chief Morrison arrived, his presence commanding. He swiftly met with Reed, then approached Hayes, offering a tight smile and an apology. James, escorted to an interview room, without handcuffs, walked past Morrison without acknowledgement. Inside, James placed his body camera on the table next to the police camera. Everything is being recorded, he stated. He systematically laid out the facts. Clark's assault and lies, the officer's baseless arrest, the denial of his rights. Morrison tried to deflect, citing Clark's claims. James leaned forward, his voice sharp with precision. Why should I leave my own property? Would you leave your house if someone said you didn't belong? He confirmed his majority ownership of the club, the very fact Reed had dismissed earlier. Then why didn't you say that when we arrested you? Reed interjected. James's eyes were cold. I told you I was a senator. I told you to check your system. You chose unlawful arrest. Why would saying I own the property make any difference when you'd already decided I was lying? The question hung unanswered. James then filed formal complaints against Wade Clark for assault and false report, and against Officer Scott and Detective Reed for unlawful arrest and civil rights violations, demanding expungement, not just avoided arrest. Anything less admits the arrest was valid. It wasn't. Morrison, fear in his eyes, agreed to expunge it within 20 minutes. You have 10, James corrected. The drive back to the club was tense. James ignored calls and texts from his staff and the Senate Majority Leader. He instructed Rebecca to let confused guests leave. The ones who stay matter more. The parking lot was a media circus. James stepped out, his torn collar, scuff marks, and red wrists visible. He walked past reporters, past the spot where Clark had humiliated him, and entered the silent ballroom. 300 eyes turned to him. At the podium, he apologized for the delay. As many of you have heard, I was arrested this morning right here, in this parking lot, by police who were called because the club manager believed I was trespassing. All of that was a lie. He clicked a remote. Parking lot security footage appeared. 11:27 a.m. Clark's aggressive posture, the portfolio ripped, papers scattering, the shove, a gasp from the crowd. Then, valet camera footage. Clark's racial slurs, his finger jabbing, the arrival of Scott and Reed, Clark's wild gestures, James being cuffed. Crucially, as James was driven away, Clark's smiling, laughing face, high-fiving a valet, flashed on screen. The crowd erupted in anger. James clicked again. The audio filled the room. Clark's voice, crude and hateful. Listen up, black boy. Know your place. This entrance is for white members only. Absolute silence. Scott's and Reed's laughter at James's claims of being a senator. Clark's 911 call. Suspicious black male, mid-50s, refusing to leave. Definitely doesn't belong here. Probably trying to crash the event. No, ma'am. He's not a member. I know all our members. This is someone undesirable. The room was on its feet, emotions raw, a visceral reaction to the undeniable evidence of racist intent and police complicity. James let the anger simmer, allowing the weight of the evidence to settle. Then, he presented the documents. An email from Clark to Scott, dated 3 days prior. Subject: problem body. That senator is coming Saturday. The black one pushing police reform. You know what to do. Make it stick. Scott's chilling reply. Understood. I'll be on duty that morning. The crowd exploded. Further emails revealed a conspiracy between Clark and other board members to force James out. They planned incidents and complaints, even involving law enforcement, to justify banning him from his own property. The systemic racism was laid bare, a calculated, insidious effort to remove a black owner deemed undesirable. James held up his body camera. This device has been recording since I arrived this morning. Everything you just saw, that was from security cameras and phones, but I have my own recording too. 6 hours of footage, every word, every action, from every angle. Then, the bombshell. I'm a United States Senator, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee Civil Rights Subcommittee. For the past 18 months, I've been investigating discrimination at exclusive clubs across this country. The Lakeside Country Club was case number 7 in my research. I purchased majority ownership specifically to document what happens when a black man tries to integrate these spaces. I hired investigators. I recorded meetings. I documented membership rejections. And this morning, I conducted what my team calls a stress test. I arrived early, alone, dressed casually to see how I'd be treated when my power wasn't obvious. He paused, letting the implications sink in. Wade Clark failed that test spectacularly, as did Officer Scott and Detective Reed, and as did this club's board of directors. James picked up a folder. These are the results of my investigation. 47 membership applications from people of color rejected. Over the same period, 112 applications from white applicants, 112 approved. He dropped the folder, pages scattering. This is a federal civil rights violation. The FBI's Civil Rights Division opened a formal investigation 3 weeks ago. This morning's incident isn't just local news, it's federal evidence. And everyone involved, Wade Clark, the board members, the officers who participated, will be held accountable. The room erupted in a mix of applause, anger, and fear. James remained at the podium. I came here for a fundraiser. These people came to support my campaign. They deserve that. He invited guests to stay, to hear why he ran for re-election, and why mornings like this proved so much work remained. Slowly, approximately half the crowd resettled. James sat in his chair at the head table, a quiet smile of resolve. He explained his deliberate choice not to pull rank immediately. Thousands of black men are treated exactly like I was this morning, but they're not senators. They don't have attorneys on speed dial. They don't have body cameras or federal protection. If I had pulled rank immediately, the lesson would have been respect power. But the lesson needs to be respect humanity. Every person deserves dignity regardless of title, regardless of race. Applause filled the room. Wade Clark was fired, now facing criminal charges for assault, filing a false police report, and conspiracy to violate civil rights. Scott and Reed were suspended pending investigation, their body camera footage and communication with Clark under FBI review, facing potential federal prosecution. The club's board resigned, new, inclusive policies drafted, and a $1 million scholarship fund established for students of color pursuing law and public service. James announced his Senate subcommittee would hold hearings next month, examining nationwide discrimination in private clubs, proposing legislation to remove tax exemptions for discriminatory institutions that benefit from public resources. Officer Lynn Gray, along with 3 other officers, entered. Gray approached the microphone, her voice cracking as she publicly denounced her colleagues' actions. What happened to you was wrong. Detective Reed ignored evidence. Officer Scott used excessive force, and I didn't speak up loud enough to stop it. If they do that to a sitting senator, how many others have they hurt? People without your resources, your platform. She announced their formal complaints and calls for mandatory, independently stored body camera footage. The crowd gave a standing ovation. James, now informed of Clark's arrest and Scott Reed's suspension, looked out at the faces, donors, constituents, reporters. This morning, I was humiliated, assaulted, arrested, thrown in a cell for the crime of being black in a space someone decided I didn't belong. And I'm a United States Senator. I have power, resources, protection. But millions of Americans face this same treatment every day in their neighborhoods, at their jobs, in stores, and schools. And they don't have what I have. He called for real systemic change, not performative, not symbolic. I want policies that protect everyone, training that works, accountability that sticks. And I want a country where a black man can walk into a country club or a coffee shop or a bank or his own home without fear. This morning could have broken me. Instead, it reminded me why I do this work, why I run for office, why I push for reform, even when it's unpopular. Because if I don't fight, who will? If I don't use my platform, my privilege, my power to change the system, then what's the point of having any of it? He urged them to get involved, to speak up, record injustice, and not look away. Change doesn't happen from the top down. It happens when every single person decides they've had enough. When every person says, "Not in my community, not on my watch." The applause became a roar. James stepped off stage. News alerts flooded Rebecca's phone. Senator James exposes racist country club in viral speech. FBI expands investigation into police misconduct. White House calls for federal review. James pocketed his phone. It's not about the money, it never was. 3 weeks later, in the Senate chamber, James wore a navy suit, his torn polo shirt from that morning now framed in his office as a stark reminder. He introduced Senate Bill 2847, the Equal Access and Accountability Act, removing tax exemptions from any private club that discriminates, mandating independent body camera footage for all law enforcement, and ending qualified immunity for officers violating constitutional rights. Some will call this radical. Some will say I'm overreacting to one incident. But that morning at the Lakeside Country Club wasn't one incident. It was a window into a system that's been broken for generations. He reported Clark's pending trial, Scott and Reed's federal charges, the club's integrated membership of 50 new members of color, and 47 FBI investigations into similar clubs nationwide. The bill passed 62 to 38. We started it, James told Rebecca. This was never about one arrest, one club, one morning. It was about every morning after. Every black man who walks into a space and wonders if today is the day. Every woman who clutches her purse tighter. Every child who learns too young that the world sees them differently. The fight continued, as it always would. But today, there was undeniable progress, a testament to the power of deliberate action against entrenched injustice.